Hey guys, welcome back to the shop. Frank here. Last time we left off on the mobile tool station. I hadn't decided on how I was going to complete the hold down mechanism for the benchtop power tools that it was designed to store and support. So I've come up with I think is a good solution, and also allow me a couple other things I was interested in. One is leave me with a flat top that I can use for other purposes. One of the purposes I'm thinking about is as an assembly table. Now, not a large assembly table, but something for basically for drawers. I have another panel with a couple of right angle fences, a right angle fence on it that I use for building drawers. But I think I might be able to use this top for the same purpose. So decided to go with T-tracks. So that's the project at hand here, is to install T-tracks on this table in a crisscross pattern. I have 4 intersections. So these are components that you can build a intersecting, right angle intersecting track connection. Just bought these off Amazon. Yeah, I don't even know who makes this. The intersections, these are, I think, PowerTech, reasonably priced. So we'll do a layout, we'll cut some grooves in this top and install, and have to cut the T-tracks to the right length and that sort of thing. And I got some hold downs, and we'll give this a test. Oh, looks like I got a couple of little puppies here. Come here, guys. They're in a, right now, come here. They are in a, come here, you guys. So, every once in a while, these guys, come here. All right, sit, sit, sit. Get in a contest of who's alpha. And Butchie, the bigger one here, tries to exert his alphaness on Brutus. And he chases Brutus around. They get their hair on their back raised up. They're kind of getting a little spat. But that's what happens when you have 2 male dogs. So nothing unusual there. All right, I just finished doing my layout for the T-tracks. Show you real quickly. These are going to be a foot apart this way, and then these are going to be 18 inches apart this way. So I'm going to go ahead and route the slots. Decided to use my track saw track. It's a nice straight edge, it's thin, it sticks. I'm going to go ahead and put a couple clamps on it, but it looks like it will work great. So that's my plan. All right, so here and here. Now I'm not using the cutting edge, the saw edge, which has a rubber or polymer strip. I'm going to use the back of it. And I have a 2.5 inch offset in the router for the router bit. So we'll go ahead and put a couple clamps on here real fast. Let's unplug it while we set the depth of cut. This router has a series of depth stops on a turret that rotates. So the way to set the depth of cut for the T-track is to lower the router bit to the workpiece and then adjust the depth stop for the thickness of cut. Now I'm going to add a shim here to make sure that I'm below the surface. Alright, so these measure just under 3/8. So if you had exactly 3/8 depth of cut, then this would be a couple thousandths below the depth of cut. This is about 10 thousandths. So I'm going to err on the conservative side, give myself about, since this is a couple thousandths smaller than 3/8, I think it's measuring 0.371. This will give me about 5 thousandths recess below the surface of the wood. All right, since this has a turret with various depth stops, I can turn it to a taller depth stop so that my depth of cut will be less than the 3/8 of an inch. And then my second pass will be at the full depth of cut. Just checking against my mark there. I'm going to do a sanity check on my marks here just to make sure I'm in the right spot. Looks good. All right, so I'm checking square to make sure that the intersections are square, and adjust the track just a little, fraction of an inch. These are both square here, showing to the track. So, all right, I had to screw a strip on the back edge of the workbench in order to have something to clamp against, since there's no overhang on the back. So I've done that. My track is clamped solidly. Ready to cut this dado. Well, I have to say that this track saw guide worked exceptionally well. Not much chip out in these lengthwise dados. Definitely some here. Yeah, kind of a chunk there taken out. It would have been better now that I see the results. Some chip out in these corners because I did the cross cut after I did the lengthwise one. It would have been better to do these first. And that way, when these were done, there wouldn't be the tear out in the corners. That was a mistake. Should have thought of that because that's always the rule of thumb on routing is route the end grain first and then come back and do the long grain, and same on the shaper. I think I mentioned that when we rounded off the edges here. Okay, so let's see if we can fit the guides in here. I'm going to take a minute here, sweep up some of this sawdust, and I'll bring you back. Nice snug fit in these grooves. I think this is going to make, just trim off these corners so there's no interference with the I'm just taking like a 1/16 of an inch off. To drill the holes for the screws for these intersections. This is a VIX bit. It has a spring-loaded collar here, which has a bevel which centers it in the hole, and then the drill bit inside drills the pilot hole for the screws. All right, so that clamp is a tight fit. Okay, they gave me one extra screw, looks like. Two extra screws, one extra in each of the packages. All right, so now I need to cut the rest of the T-track. All right, that's a good fit. Now I'm cutting it so that, I mean, there's a hole near the end here, and if I were to start here and go here, I'd be cutting it right on that hole. So what I'm doing is I'm cutting an inch off so that the holes are evenly spaced. So again here, I'm cutting a piece where the holes are, you know, if I cut it like this, I'd only have one screw, which would probably be all right. If I were to do it like this, I'd have a screw at the very edge, which is no good. So what I really want to do is take about an inch off of this side and cut it at the top of this curve, this bevel, this round over. So I can't get two screws in this space, so I'm just going to basically center it with one. I think we'll be able to do that with these pieces here. Approximate center, I'm just doing it by eye. It doesn't really make that much difference. Just fit nicely, a little bit of play. All right, we've got 4 more pieces to do out at the ends. Yeah, I cut that one too short. Not sure how that happened, but it happens. Make another one. All right, I got all the rest of the pieces cut. I guess I wish now I had gotten all the same color, but brand. But I didn't see these intersections in the PowerTech brand, which is what the light blue is. So a little bit tough to judge the colors on the computer screen, but I could tell they were different colors. That's okay. Looks like I didn't get screws with the PowerTech track, so fishing through my screws here. Got some of the right size, but they're slotted, not Phillips, so kind of a hassle in that respect, but we should be able to do this. These are the right size screws, it's just they're slotted. Makes it a lot more fussy to drive them. Power drive them, that is. But it's working. I do have a couple of Phillips head left over. So I bought some of these little accessories off Amazon and surprised, I should have paid more attention, that they're just basically 1/4 20 bolts. And the heads, while they, are retained in the track, they spin in the track too. So when you go to tighten them, you basically have to hold the bolt in order to get them to tighten. So, not too jazzed about that. I mean, they work eventually, but not as well as you would like them to work. Of course, they fall down in these intersections, so that's be able to install them from there rather than always from the end of the track. My plan was to use them as a set of stops for building boxes or really drawers. This is what I use for building drawers. This is my jig, and it allows me to line up the edges, the sides of the drawer box. You could use it for any box, but these are perfect 90 degrees. And so when you're assembling a drawer, you can put two sides together, put some screws or nails or staples or whatever you're using. Or if it's dovetailed, you can use it to align the sides while you're gluing it up, or to test it after it's glued up. Make sure it's square, push it back in the corner to square it up. So this is what I've been using, and this, you know, works great. It's got melamine on here, so the glue really doesn't stick to it. You can scrape it off. So I was going to duplicate that arrangement on here with a series of 90-degree stops, but these are not particularly nice. They're, like I said, they're 1/4-inch bolts, so they spin in the T-slot too easily when you go to tighten them. So I don't think I would recommend these. They were inexpensive. I mean, they do tighten up eventually, but and you know, it does look like it's a good 90 degrees. Pretty darn close. So I think my tracks got laid out correctly. In other words, they're a true 90 degree, really close to 90 degree angle. You know, the other comment I might have about this, I don't know, is you know, these intersections, you know, they work okay with these. Because these have just the head of the 1/4-inch bolt. Well, that's one thing about the 1/4-inch bolt, is it drops down in the that's kind of a pain. It doesn't really, not real useful. So I wouldn't buy these. They were on Amazon. I have no idea who makes them. But I would say steer clear of any accessories that use a 1/4-inch bolt as the T-nut, because it just doesn't work. All right, these are bow clamps. They're pretty snug. Going through these intersections. I don't think my screws are proud. It's just different tolerances between the types of T-track. I think my advice would be to stick to one brand. I may sand the corners off this or something. Okay, so next step is to, and I have another set of clamps that are coming that will, I think, work better. Clamps to hold down a power tool. So clearly one of the objectives here was to be able to mount a power tool to here and have it stay where you want it. All right, so I have 2 more of these clamps coming. I ordered 2 more. So and it's a combination of debris in the T-slots and change in tolerance between the 2 brands of T-slots. Well, that made a big difference. All right, so that's the drum sander fastened down. And I think, my thought process was having intersecting tracks would give me the most flexibility for clamping down the various tools, the 3 different tools, or anything else that I want to clamp down on here. So I think that works. So I wouldn't buy these. I made a mistake of buying these T-track clamps with this little 1/4-20 bolt. Heck, it might even be metric. I don't know what it is. I'm guessing it's 1/4-20. this spins in the track, so it's not real useful. So avoid anything that uses a 1/4-20 bolt. All right, so scroll saw, clamp down. The issue is these clamps are a little tall, so workpiece, if it's large, won't clear them. So that's a little bit of an issue. I have some low profile clamps that I've ordered that will work in lieu of these. So yeah, I think I call that mission accomplished here. Not these things so much, but the decision to put T-track on there gives me a multi-purpose table. I can hold the tools, store the tools, set up jigs on top for assembly, and so that's going to work out. All right, get my low profile clamps on here. Fix that issue. All right, folks, that's going to wrap up the work on this benchtop power tool mobile workstation. Accomplished the objectives of having the ability to take tools out and put them on top, mount them solidly. The T-track, I think, was the answer. It took me a while to come to that conclusion, but I think that solved the problem of maintaining a level, flat work surface, as well as being able to clamp the tools to the top or secure them to the top. I lost the original objective of having it as a additional outfeed table for my table saw. And in my first episode, this is the fourth now, first episode, I had said that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to have it possible to use it as a additional outfeed or an extension to my outfeed table. Gave up on that idea when I couldn't get the storage space without mounting the casters on the sides, which I think looked goofy. So, I put the casters back under. That raised the height several inches, made it not compatible for an outfeed table. So I gave up on that objective. And as you know, any of these projects is, they're all compromises based on materials you have on hand, which I built all this with material I had on hand, including the casters, the lumber, the plywood. I had it all on hand, everything, except for the T-track. So my original idea of a cleat system or something would make the table surface unusable for assembly. So then I realized, hey, assembly, I can use it in lieu of my drawer assembly, or even mount my drawer assembly jig on top of it. So that gives me some additional flexibility. And also, having T-Track, you can buy accessories, and I bought some clamps. And I have some, as I mentioned, some low profile clamps that are on order that will work for the scroll saw better. But all in all, I would say mission accomplished. Got a portable workbench, got my tools in storage, I got a work surface, flexible for multiple uses. So I think that worked out. All right, I hope you enjoyed watching that, maybe learned something. I think I learned that if you're buying T-Track, buy all the same brand, so you don't have inconsistencies in the dimensions of the track. Though I don't think there's, the exterior of this T-Track, the two different kinds of T-Track, doesn't seem to be any difference. The interior, the clamps and stuff slide more easily in the light blue PowerTech track brand, and those intersections, the 90-degree intersection pieces, I don't know who made them. I bought them on Amazon, so some unknown brand. I did get screws with those intersections, the PowerTech track, which was a pack of 4 36-inch pieces. Didn't come with screws. So be aware of that. You'll need to get your own screws if you're buying that track. I don't think they claimed it came with screws or anything, but I didn't even think about it. So something to think about there. Otherwise, it went together fine. I got a good 90-degree angle between the tracks. Took some time and fussed with it a little bit to make sure that my dados were exactly 90 degrees apart, using a square to make sure. I did use the Festool, and it doesn't matter what brand it is, track saw track as a straight edge for the router. You know, I have used a board before, I've used a level, but you know, that track saw track worked really well. So I think that's a lesson learned there. If you have any questions or comments, maybe you would have done this differently. If you would have, put a comment down, because I'd be interested in hearing. Don't pretend to be, you know, a know-it-all. I'm just showing you what I'm doing in my shop. Got no affiliation with any of the brands I've mentioned. So everything's, you know, my opinion for what it's worth. So thanks for watching. We'll see you guys on the next one.